Hello guys. If your coffee is ready, game theory is starting.
Haha, I love it.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're going for a deep dive into Bitcoin. Bitcoin in 2024. We're going to explore, where it stands, what's going on, and what might be next. But before we get started, a quick reminder: this deep dive is just for information, definitely not financial advice.
Exactly. It's all about, exploring these ideas, understanding this really fascinating world.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. For someone who might be tuning in, for the first time, can you give us like a clear, concise explanation of what Bitcoin actually is?
Sure thing. So at its core, Bitcoin is a digital currency, but it's not like, the digital money you use for like online shopping or whatever. What makes it unique is that it operates without any kind of central authority. No banks, no governments calling the shots. It's all based on this really revolutionary technology. It's called the blockchain.
The blockchain. It's a term we hear everywhere, but can you break it down for us? What makes it so revolutionary, especially when we're talking about something like money?
Okay, so think of the blockchain like a giant digital ledger. But instead of being kept in one place, it's distributed across a vast network of computers. This makes it incredibly secure and transparent. Every single Bitcoin transaction is recorded on this ledger, and everyone can see it.
So no more like shady backroom deals.
Yeah.
Or hidden transactions. Everything's out in the open.
That's the idea. This transparency is a big part of what makes Bitcoin appealing to so many people, bringing financial transactions into the light. And because the blockchain is spread across so many computers, it's incredibly difficult to tamper with, like trying to hack into like millions of computers simultaneously.
That definitely adds a layer of security that you don't get with like traditional financial systems.
Mm.
Now, I'm curious about Bitcoin's journey. It's been around for a while now. I mean, it wasn't an overnight success, was it?
Not at all. It's been quite a ride, actually. Bitcoin was created back in 2008 by this mysterious figure or group of people known as Satoshi Nakamoto, and we still don't know their true identity, which adds to the intrigue, right?
It's like the ultimate tech mystery. But even with that mystery, Bitcoin started gaining traction. What were some of those early milestones that kind of signaled its potential?
Well, in 2009, we had the first ever Bitcoin transaction. It was for a whopping 10,000 Bitcoins used to buy 2 pizzas. Can you imagine what those pizzas would be worth today?
My mind is blown. Talk about a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had that first transaction. When did things really start to take off?
I think a pivotal moment was in 2013 when Bitcoin's market cap, that's the total value of all Bitcoin in circulation, surpassed $1 billion. That was a major milestone. Showed that people were starting to recognize its value.
$1 billion. That's when the world started paying attention. And then, of course, there's 2017, the year Bitcoin went mainstream.
Yes, 2017. That was a wild year. We saw this massive bull market with Bitcoin's price skyrocketing to nearly $20,000. It was all over the news. Everyone was talking about it.
It felt like Bitcoin was on the cover of every magazine.
Right.
But there have been ups and downs since then, right? It hasn't always been smooth sailing.
Definitely not. Bitcoin is known for its volatility. There have been price corrections and fluctuations, but that's part of what makes it so fascinating. It's a high risk, high reward asset.
A real roller coaster ride. So we've had this incredible journey from those early, somewhat obscure beginnings to mainstream attention and a whole lot of volatility. Where does that leave Bitcoin today, here at the end of 2024?
Well, 2024 has been a particularly significant year because of the halving event, which happens roughly every 4 years. It's a key part of Bitcoin's design.
Okay, for those of us who aren't, hardcore Bitcoin enthusiasts, break down this halving event. What does it mean, and why is it such a big deal?
Essentially, the halving reduces the rate at which new Bitcoins are created. Bitcoin miners who use, powerful computers to verify transactions and secure the network, they get rewarded with new Bitcoins for their efforts. The halving cuts that reward in half.
So less new Bitcoin is entering the system. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But how does that impact things on a larger scale?
It's all about supply and demand, right? When the supply of new Bitcoins is reduced, it tends to put upward pressure on the price. And this year's halving, combined with some other major developments, has made 2024 a truly pivotal year for Bitcoin.
Like what kinds of developments? I'm on the edge of my seat here.
Well, we've seen growing institutional interest in Bitcoin. Major financial players, hedge funds, even some governments, they're starting to take it seriously. And we've also seen the approval of Bitcoin ETFs, which make it easier for everyday investors to get involved.
Wow, that's huge. It sounds like Bitcoin is moving further into the mainstream. But it's not just about traditional finance, right? We've also heard a lot about Bitcoin's role in decentralized finance, or DeFi. What's going on there?
Yeah, so DeFi is essentially essentially rebuilding traditional financial services like lending, borrowing, trading, but without the need for banks or intermediaries. It all happens on the blockchain, and Bitcoin is playing a bigger role in this space.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, from mysterious origins to mainstream acceptance, and even this whole DeFi world. What are some of your key takeaways from Bitcoin's journey so far?
What strikes me is how Bitcoin has really defied expectations. It was dismissed as this fringe idea, but it's persevered and grown into this global phenomenon. It's a testament to the power of decentralized technology, and the desire for financial alternatives.
It's a fascinating story, and I think it raises some important questions about the future of finance. So what's next for Bitcoin? What are the potential opportunities and challenges that lie ahead?
That's where it gets really interesting. The future of Bitcoin, like any disruptive technology, is uncertain. But there are some key factors that will shape its trajectory.
All right, let's dive into those factors. What should we be paying attention to as we look ahead?
So first and foremost, I think we have technological advancements. I mean, the world of crypto is constantly evolving. We're seeing these innovations in areas like scalability, which is crucial for Bitcoin to be able to handle a larger volume of transactions, as well as privacy and security enhancements. These advancements could significantly impact Bitcoin's usability and adoption.
It makes sense that Bitcoin needs to keep up with this rapid evolution of technology. Can you give us some concrete examples of these advancements? Like what are developers working on that has you particularly excited?
Yeah, so one area that's really exciting is the development of layer 2 solutions, like the Lightning Network. These solutions aim to make Bitcoin transactions faster and cheaper by processing them off the main blockchain. It's like creating express lanes for Bitcoin transactions, so to speak.
That sounds promising, especially if we're talking about Bitcoin being used for like everyday transactions. But what about the environmental concerns surrounding Bitcoin? The energy consumption of mining has been a big topic of discussion.
Absolutely, it's a legitimate concern, but there's progress being made on that front as well. We're seeing a shift towards more sustainable mining practices, with some miners utilizing renewable energy sources like solar and wind power.
So it's not just about technological innovation. But also about making those innovations more sustainable. That seems crucial for Bitcoin's long-term viability. But technology is only one piece of the puzzle. What about the economic landscape? How do global economic trends impact Bitcoin?
Yeah, economic trends play a significant role. Things like global inflation, interest rates, the performance of traditional markets, all have an impact on Bitcoin's price and investor sentiment.
We've seen Bitcoin's price fluctuate quite a bit in recent years. Is there a clear relationship between those fluctuations and what's happening in the broader economy?
It's a complex relationship. Some argue that Bitcoin acts as like a hedge against inflation, meaning its value goes up when the purchasing power of traditional currencies declines. Others see it as more of a speculative asset, more akin to like a tech stock, and its price movements are driven by investor sentiment and market speculation.
So it's not a simple answer. It seems like there are multiple factors at play. And what about the role of governments and regulations? How is the political landscape shaping Bitcoin's future?
Regulation is a huge factor. Governments around the world are still grappling with how to approach cryptocurrencies. We've seen a wide range of approaches from countries that are embracing Bitcoin, creating clear regulatory frameworks, to those that are taking a more cautious or even restrictive stance.
It seems like regulatory clarity is essential for wider adoption. Businesses and individuals need to know how to operate within the law. What are some of the key regulatory developments that you're watching closely?
One key area is the development of anti-money laundering, AML, and know your customer KYC regulations for cryptocurrency businesses. These regulations aim to prevent illicit activities while allowing legitimate businesses to operate. Another area is taxation. Governments are figuring out how to tax Bitcoin transactions and holdings.
So a lot of moving pieces on the regulatory front. Sounds like navigating this landscape is going to be crucial for Bitcoin's future. We've talked about technology, economics, politics, and regulations. Are there any other major factors that we should be considering?
One factor that I think often gets overlooked is community development. Bitcoin has this vibrant and passionate community of developers, entrepreneurs, enthusiasts who are constantly working to improve and promote it. This community is a driving force behind its innovation and adoption.
It's interesting that you bring up the community aspect. It seems like Bitcoin is more than just a technology or a financial instrument. It's a movement with a strong sense of of purpose and shared values. What are some of those values that are driving this community forward?
Well, there's a strong belief in the principles of decentralization, financial freedom, individual sovereignty. Many see Bitcoin as a tool to empower individuals and challenge traditional financial systems. There's also a strong ethos of transparency and open source development within the community.
It sounds like this community plays a vital role in shaping Bitcoin's narrative.
Yeah.
And pushing for its wider adoption. So we have technological advancements, economic trends, political regulations, environmental concerns, and even this passionate community, all shaping Bitcoin's future. It's a complex interplay of factors. How do you make sense of it all? What's your overall assessment of Bitcoin's trajectory? Well, while the future is inherently uncertain, I believe Bitcoin has the potential to fundamentally reshape the global financial system. It represents a paradigm shift, a move towards a more decentralized and transparent future.
A paradigm shift. That's a powerful statement. But as you said, the future is uncertain. There are challenges ahead.
Of course, Bitcoin still faces hurdles in terms of scalability, regulation, wider adoption, but the pace of innovation is remarkable, and the community is incredibly resilient. It's a space to watch closely.
It sounds like we're at a pivotal moment in Bitcoin's journey.
I would agree. We're witnessing the early stages of a potential financial revolution. Whether Bitcoin succeeds in realizing its full potential remains to be seen. But it's a fascinating and exciting journey to be a part of.
Absolutely, it's been an incredible deep dive into the world of Bitcoin. We've explored its past, analyzed its present, and contemplated its future. Now, I'm curious to hear from our listeners. What are your thoughts on Bitcoin's journey? Are you bullish or bearish on its future? What aspects of Bitcoin's potential excite you the most, or maybe what concerns you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you and continue this conversation. So thanks for joining us on this journey. It's been quite a ride.
My pleasure.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until we see you in the next video, game over.